So on my last TikTok, I got a lot of people asking me how I even broke into tech. Like, how did you get a job, girl? How do I do that? Good question. I sometimes also don't entirely know how I made it here, but I will tell you, your girl did work hard, okay? She put her blood, sweat, and tears into this. And honestly, I just want to say right off the bat, you kind of have to. There is no easy way to get into software engineering in particular, if you're looking into that, without at least a little bit of crying, okay? So if you're one of those people who's like, I don't cry, whatever, you will cry. The moment you learn about leetcode.com, you will shed tears. I'm telling you. If they're tears of despair, frustration, you're going to have tracks on your face, bitch. So anyway, having said that, I went through the grueling task of getting into this industry, and I did it a certain way. So I did not go to boot camp, first and foremost. All right, I did not do that. Honestly, I didn't even know they existed. So, yeah. But the university at which I got my undergrad degree in international affairs, which is humanities, totally different, also offered a program for people to get a master's in computer science who didn't have an undergrad degree that was in a related field. So it was people like me. It was perfect. It was tailored for me. And that, I think, was a super big component as to why I was successful, why I was able to go through all those horrible classes, and why I was able to get a job. Because when you enter a program like that, what you get, unless you're antisocial, I guess, what you get is the opportunity to make friends and to make connections. And you know what that's called? That's called networking. So, I mean, honestly, I just was able to hear from my friends and their experiences. I was able to get referrals. People told me about conferences that were going on. And needless to say, my LinkedIn was looking spectacular, okay? Because that's another thing that my university, gave to us. It gave us the knowledge of how to market yourself online as a potential employee. So yeah, I did all of that. I got my resume, looked through by an advisor as well, provided by my university. I got sponsored to go to Grace Hopper as well for my university, which is the biggest women in tech conference. Men are also invited though, so, but it's a good way to get jobs because they have special listings. And I also got my first internship as a software engineer through my university's online portal that is exclusive to, students. So I just got so much opportunity and so many resources, resume looking great, LinkedIn looking great. I got, some decent professors and they became mentors to me. I still think about them at times, they really shaped my experience. And because I went through an academic program, I also feel like I get less imposter syndrome because I know that I went through all of those classes and I achieved good grades and I did my part, I did the homework, etc. So I think it does also give me more confidence, Added to that, some job listings will actually require a degree. And so I have one, so I don't need to worry about that, right? So that is really just, those are the pros, right? There are cons. It is expensive. Very expensive, don't remind me. It takes a lot of time. It's often hard to take classes while you're working full time. So you do need to make it work somehow, right? And that is the hard part. Mine was during COVID, so everything was online anyway. And rents were cheaper and all of that. For me, it was very situational. I also got a scholarship from my university because I, also went to undergrad there. So, they gave me I think 15% off. So, those are the things that I had, in my toolkit, if you will. But yeah, so that is how I did it. I am not self-taught. I don't know if I could be self-taught, to be honest. And I'm very curious to hear from people who did go through like boot camps and stuff, like what their pros and cons are. But this is the route that is available to you. You could go the traditional route, and there are programs like this, like master's degrees, which by the way are shorter than undergrad degrees, and often have like older students and stuff, that also are geared towards people who don't have, relevant bachelors. Like, you don't have to be a computer science bachelor's person, So yeah, that's how I did that. That's how I got the job. I just benefited from my program, and I also just took like serious advantage of all the resources in my program. You kind of have to be a go-getter. If you're going to do this, if you're trying to break into a different industry, you're going to have to do the legwork too, and the social work. You got to talk to people. I don't know. It's hard, but you got to do it. So, you got any more questions? Let me know. But, yeah. So now, I got my job, and now I get to pay off my student loans. Joe Biden, please help.